Hey, team. This is David Newman, author of the new book, Do It Selling. And the best advice that I ever got when it comes to selling is put fresh targets on your radar daily. That is the secret, my friends. More to come when I'm talking to my friend Phil.
Ooh, fresh targets daily. David, that sounds like a lot of work, man. Why would I want to do that? Who told you that?
Well, so School of Hard Knocks told me that when I started my business and avoided that advice for years and years and years. And then I was wondering, Phil, where's the clients? Phil, where's the revenue? Phil, how am I going to pay my mortgage next month? And to answer those questions, I realized I'm not doing enough prospecting activity, which many of our listeners and viewers might relate to. When I say not doing enough prospecting activity, talking about myself now, that includes no prospecting activity, like none. Figuring, hey, I do great work. Phil, you do great work. People will just find you and throw money at your head. And it turns out that A, people were not finding me. B, people were not throwing money at my head or any other body part. And it was really, really tough to make a living because when you don't fill the top of the funnel, then you don't get to fill the middle of the funnel and you don't get to have sales conversations and you don't get to eat. And I like to eat. I mean, you can tell, right? You can tell right here. I like to eat. I like to eat and drink. And this is a problem when you don't have money because you don't have clients because you did not do enough prospecting activity. So here's what happens, right? We say, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And I might not be making the money that I want this week or this month, but next month it'll get better. Why? Because I'm on social media. Phil, you're on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. People are just going to find us on LinkedIn. I have a blog. You have a blog. People are just going to find us on the blog. And this month is not that great, but let me hang out until next month. Next month, same thing. Third month, same thing. 6 months later, same thing. Pretty soon, smart people like us, would go, maybe this entrepreneurship thing is too hard. Maybe I should start thinking about going back and getting a job. Maybe I need the good old paycheck again because I can't figure out this entrepreneurship thing. And it's not about figuring out the entrepreneurship thing. It's about figuring out the sales thing.
Yeah, that's so right, and it's so interesting, David, because when I first met you, I was like, "Well, guy's a freaking brilliant marketer, but what does he know about sales?" Right? And now it's been, gosh, 15 years we've been friends, and I'm like, "Dude, this Newman guy's a sales guy. You should call it Do It Selling." Oh, wait, you did call it Do It Selling, right? So I love that because it's so important, and so many of our I guess peers is probably the right word, right? So many of our fellow speakers and fellow consultants and fellow coaches say, well, sales just happen to me. And it's like the hell they do. Sales are not magic, right? There's no magic tree to shake. We have to have conversations. So, David, 77 ideas, though, I have to tell you. But this book, I don't think people should just pick it up and say, okay, well, that's a wrap, and then do this. I think this is a recipe book that people need to follow from front to back. So, what do you think about that? Am I on the money, or what are you thinking?
Well, it is a recipe book, and it is really sort of a stepwise guide for people who hate to sell. So literally, Phil, when I was starting out, and this is embarrassing but true, so why not? Who would tell an embarrassing story, by the way, that's not true? Who would fabricate an embarrassing story? We're going to fabricate an amazing success story, but people typically don't fabricate an embarrassing, goofy story. So this is real, as is everything that I'm going to share with you today. People would say early on, David, you just gotta get better at prospecting. And I was like shaking my head and nodding and thanking them for the advice because I would take people out for breakfast and lunch and coffee and, hey, can I pick your brain? And how does this work? And what do you do? What's the secret to your success? And they said, really, it's about prospecting. what the subtext or the captions in my brain is, okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much for the advice. Just one question. What's prospecting? Like literally, what is prospecting? How do I find these mythical prospects, these potential people that might want to, solve a problem that I can solve or get an outcome that I might help them get? Where do I find them? Like, where in the world? Are they down at the chamber? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they in some portals and communities and forums and groups? And I was asking those questions. Unfortunately, they were hypothetical questions because the real questions have real answers. Guess where they are? They're in your Rolodex. It's your next door neighbor. It's people that you've already encountered in your world. And yes, they're online. Yes, they're in blogs, portals, communities, and forums. Yes, they're in LinkedIn groups. Yes, they're in Facebook groups. Yes, they're at the trade and professional associations of your target industry. But if you never step into those arenas, you will never find them and they will never find you. So when I say step by step by step, and I do a little bit tongue in cheek. So as you know, I'm a tongue in cheek kind of guy. But it's like there are people right in front of you that might be either prospects or referral sources or influencers or introducers or connectors. And by you not doing any outreach of any kind, there are huge opportunities that you are not getting a hold of, because it's very tough to win a game that you have not stepped on the field to play. It is very, very tough to win a game that you're actually not playing. So you have to get into action. You have to get into motion, and you have to get into intelligent action and do research before reach out. And you have to have a relevant reason to get in touch with them. So for example, one of the ideas in the book is to look at the blogs, portals, forums, and communities where your people are already gathering, already asking and answering questions, already struggling with challenges and posting, oh my, who has a good resource for this? Or man, I'm really struggling with that. Or I'd love to fix this. Who has some ideas? And you contributing in public and then taking that conversation private with private messaging, direct messaging, possibly email if you have their email address, and saying, hey, Barbara, I just saw your post in the XYZ group. Is that still a challenge? I'd be happy to hop on a call and share 2 or 3 ideas specific to your exact situation and goals. And now that is a helping conversation. So people go, well, David, during that helping conversation, what do I pitch? What do I sell? What do I make? Do I make an offer? I said, what part of helping conversation did you miss? A helping conversation is exactly that. It's a helping conversation. I know, crazy. Now, at the end of that conversation, you may qualify, disqualify these folks. What I like to say, and this happens to be in the Do It Selling book. Hey, Bob, right before you wrap up, I've got one final question for you, and then I'm happy to answer any final questions that you may have. My question is, 2 kinds of folks take me up on this offer to book a chat like we just had. The first kind of person, they just want the free insights, ideas, and recommendations, and that is 100% cool. The second kind of person, of course, they also want the free insights and advice, but they're also test driving what a working relationship with me might feel like. I just got to ask you, which camp do you find yourself in? And if you've done that helping call to the very best of your ability, and you've provided massive value, you've been massively helpful, massively relevant, you will be amazed. About 30%, in my experience and my clients' experiences, about 30% of people will say, you know what, I was in test drive mode. I checked out your website. I looked on LinkedIn. We are looking for some help in this area. I was in test drive mode. So 30%, you're like, no. It's like, yes. Why did they set up the call? Because they were bored? No. Why did they set up the call? There's nothing good on Netflix that day? No. They set up the call because there's an urgent, pervasive, expensive problem, and they wanted to invest 20 or 30 minutes talking to you to see if you might be the right person with the solution. So people are not just setting up these calls. I mean, people are smart. They know that there's business to be transacted, and you're offering help. Maybe it's a source of paid help. Maybe it's just a friend conversation. Maybe it becomes a referral down the road. Maybe that person comes back in 6 months or a year. We don't know. We don't care. The point is, the reason they booked the call is because they need help. So that's 30%. 20%, 50% will say just purely, thank you so much. This has been super helpful. Don't need help. Wasn't going to hire anyone. Not window shopping. So 30% yes, 50% no. How about the remaining 20%? The remaining 20%, because that call was so valuable and so relevant and so on point, people will tell you, when I booked this call, I had no intention of bringing you in. I had no intention of hiring a speaker or a consultant. I didn't think I needed a coach. But man, I'll tell you, this last 30 minutes, Phil, it's been so valuable. I think we do actually need to talk about what it might look like to bring you in. And I do think we need some help in this area. So that was the helping call. You do not go into sales mode at that point. You set up a second call, and here's the transition. You say, Phil, I'm really honored to hear you say that. Thank you so much. That was not the intention of this call. This was purely a helping call. It was not designed to be a sales pitch or a veiled sales pitch. But because you're interested in finding out more about how we might work together, are you in front of your calendar? Yes, I am. Great. Why don't we set a push pin in the calendar for either Wednesday or Thursday of this week? I've got Wednesday at 10. I've got Thursday at 3. By the way, I'm on Eastern time. Which one works better for you? So before you leave the helping call, you set up the sales call. Now, the beauty of doing this in such a transparent, clear, ethical way is there's no bait and switch, right? You know it's a sales call. They know it's a sales call. And the premise of the conversation is, let's figure out what ways I might be helpful to you on a paid commercial basis. So that would be a great example of social media to a direct message to a helping call to a sales call to a sale.
Beautiful. Easy enough to follow, and yet so frequently not done, as we both know. So with that, you talk about in the book the things that many people don't do, and that's MMA. So I was surprised, David. I thought more people were into mixed martial arts.
So
and
MMA is
that's not it.
That's not it. Although it could be, MMA.
It feels that way, right?
Yeah. So MMA comes from one of my early mentors and still friends, good friends, named Scott Simons. And this was back when I was lost and clueless and wandering in the forest. And he sat me down one day and he said, David, what are you doing that keeps you busy all day? And I gave him all this. Oh, I'm doing this and I'm blogging. I'm going down to the chamber. I'm hanging out. I'm going to the business card exchange. I'm going to my BNI meeting. I'm blogging. I'm blogging back in 2004. He says, you know what's missing in your business? And I said, no. He says, you're not doing enough MMA. I said, oh, okay. What's MMA? He says, it's the lifeblood of every business. It's called money-making activity. And I was like, damn, I hate when my smart friends are right. I was like, dude, I'm not spending any time in money-making activity. I'm spending time hoping, praying, wishing, planting seeds. I had totally drunk the inbound marketing Kool-Aid. Now, inbound marketing is fantastic. I know you're a big fan, Phil. I'm a big fan. It is necessary, but not sufficient to build a sales machine around your expertise, around your products, around your services. So when I talked to my friend Scott and he says, dude, MMA, every single day, you need to be engaged in MMA, which I have now translated into direct to prospect activity. Direct to prospect activity means anywhere along your sales process. And yes, kids, we're going to explain sales process in a moment. It's like, what's a sales process? I didn't know that either. So every step along your sales process, from initial contact all the way through to signed contract, if you are talking to a prospect, you are communicating, You are sending value items back and forth. You are moving the conversation forward. So you're always getting one step closer to a check. That is the definition of money-making activity. Cleaning your office, not MMA. Posting on random social media, not MMA. Now, let's talk about where these cross over. Let's say that you put a brilliant post, a poignant, moving, tear-jerking post that speaks to your client's most urgent, pervasive, expensive problems, and you post that on LinkedIn. The posting of it is not MMA. When you take that link and you send it to 2 or 3 of your active prospects and you say, hey, Jim, I just posted this on LinkedIn. It reminded me of our conversation that we had last week about problem X. Have a look at it. Feel free to share it with the team. I'm not asking anything. That's a pure give. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, here's your exact story, right? Here's your exact problem. Here's your exact conditions and situations. Here's what I would do, right? So it's an article format, but it proves 2 things. The only 2 things you need to get across in any sales dialogue. Number 1, I know what you're going through. Number 2, I can fix it. So when you send value content to an active prospect, that piece of content, which itself is not MMA, sending that piece of content to an active prospect, which will move you further down the sales process, that is actually MMA. So every call, every email, every direct message, every text, every video that you send, every audio clip that you send through your LinkedIn app, each of those things, if it's going to a prospect, it counts as MMA. You cannot do, so our recipe is 5 a day, always in play, meaning 5 touches to an active prospect. It is impossible, Phil, to do 5 a day, always in play and not make an extra $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month. If folks just did that one thing out of the Do It Selling book, where it's like, keep a log of your money-making activities. Every morning, start with 0. You're after the 5 hashtags with the Roman numeral counting system, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/. 5 a day, Monday through Friday. I'll even give you weekends off. I will give you weekends off. But 5 a day, always in play. It's not unusual that people double and triple their business. So we had one client who did this. She came to us making less than 100K. 12 months later, she's making 300K. This year, she's on track to be making 500K, all because 5 a day, always in play.
Wow. Wow. It's so interesting because it's not about the creating of the article, though that's important. It's about actually getting it in front of people who can do something with the information and make a decision. Is that
Yeah,
right?
absolutely right.
Cool. Cool. So let's talk about that sales process, David, because most folks are like, sales process, like I call people and they say yes or no, and I'm done with them, right? And that's not as a sales process, but that's one that is going to be, maybe 3% successful, perhaps, if they're lucky. So let's talk about a real sales process, David, for consultants, for coaches, for speakers, right? What are we looking at here? What do you recommend? Because I know you've got a lot of this laid out in the book. So let's give them a little bit more value here.
Sure. So I think the first piece of any sales process that you design is to take off your consultant hat and take off your sales hat and put on your prospect hat. So when you put on your prospect hat, we get these pitches all the time. We get people emailing us out of the blue. We get random LinkedIn spam. And what's missing from those is research, relevance, and context. So they've done no research on you. It's very often a completely irrelevant offer that they're making. And there's no context, like there's no reason why that they're emailing you on this particular day at this particular time. So think of yourself as a prospect. You're on the receiving end of this. The 3 questions that every prospect asks about any initial outreach from any salesperson or consultant or coach: why this, why me, and why now? Those are the 3 questions. Why am I getting this? Why are they sending this to me specifically? And why at this particular point in time? So let's say that, and I get these all the time. I was looking for my phone here, but my phone is sitting over there on the table. Dear David, I don't know who handles the phone systems for Do It Marketing, but we have this amazing PBX office phone system that you should really take a look at. And what I want to do is kind of hold up my iPhone and go, dude, this is my phone. Our team is all over the world. We don't have a PBX phone system. We don't have an office. We don't have a building. So completely irrelevant, right? Why me? Why this? Why now? Fail, fail, fail. Compare this, and I haven't gotten this pitch, but hear me out and see if you would respond to this if you were me. On LinkedIn, by email, I don't care how it comes in. Dear David, I see that you've written 2 best-selling books, and your new book, Do It Selling, just came out. We're with Amazon Schmeggity Super Service. We help authors like you make sure that all the hard work that you put into your book actually pays off with an enhanced number of sales and reviews and traction and whatever. So let's go through the 3 questions. Why me? Why this? Why now? Why me? Well, because they did 15 minutes of research. And it's like, well, this guy has 2 best-selling books. We know, because we're smart marketers, whenever an author has a new book, they're willing to sell their children, to do whatever it takes to bring attention and love and reviews and respect and recognition to that book. So why me? Got it. Why this? They found my book on Amazon. They found my other 2 books on Amazon. They're like, well, this guy has 300 some reviews for the first book, 170 some reviews for the second book. I bet he wants the 3rd book to be more successful than either one of those. So why this? Why now? Why not 6 months ago? 6 months ago, this book was a twinkle in my eye. Why not 6 months from now? 6 months from now, it's too late, right? The book either took off or it didn't. So all 3, A+, A+, A+. Why me? Why this? Why now? Now, honestly, I'm sitting in front of my computer. If I were to get that pitch, I would have a conversation with that person. I don't know them from Adam or Eve. I have no idea about their reputation. I have no idea about their track record of success. I have no idea who their other clients are. I might want to find those things out. But man, oh man, 15 minutes of research on a prospect's LinkedIn, their website, their media page, their press release page. Look on YouTube, look in the business journal for the city that they're in, look in the major metropolitan paper, the business section, to see if their CEO has been interviewed or profiled, or there's a story, good, bad, or otherwise, about their company. Check out their stock price. Check out the history of their stock price. If it's been up, down, sideways, upside down, underwater, whatever. If it's a public company, obviously. If you do that 15 minutes of research, most of your prospecting activity will answer these 3 questions of why this, why me, and why now. And your hit rate will go from 0.5% to probably around 25 or 30%. And by 25 or 30%, I mean that 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 people will be happy to talk to you. So you do 5 a day, always in play, 5 prospects, let's say 1 or 2 every single day result in a conversation, right? Imagine what you could do with 10 conversations a week, 40 conversations a month. Even if you're the world's worst closer and you can close 10% of those, that's 4 sales a month. Now, Phil, you and I don't sell cheap stuff. Our stuff is $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. We don't need 100 sales a month. We don't even need 10 sales a month. You and I are probably super happy 4, 5, 6 sales a month, and we're sitting pretty for our 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K programs. Everyone wants to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of irrelevant leads. I want to have 5 highly curated, incredibly relevant, incredibly relevant and well-researched leads, so I can have an intelligent conversation with them about their favorite topic, them and their company and their team and their problems and their marketing and their sales and what they're up to and what they want to solve and what they want to achieve. So one of the early chapters in the Do It Selling book, I say, if you don't like the word sales and selling, throw those out of your vocabulary. Replace them with two new words: invitation to a conversation, right? An invitation to a conversation is totally non-threatening. Who's afraid of an invitation? Nobody. Usually we have some fun things on the other end of an invitation: a party, wine, cake, bourbon, puppies, barbecue, all kinds of good things come when you receive an invitation. Who's afraid of a conversation? Usually we're not afraid of a conversation. Conversation is a fun exchange of ideas. We get to know other people. They get to know us. That's how we form relationships. Some of these people might become your new friends. Some of these people might become your new best friends. Some of these people might become your new clients. Some of them might become your new referral sources or introducers or influencers. But generally speaking, no one's afraid of a conversation either. So if you totally reframe sales and selling to the one key question, which is, are you inviting enough people to conversations about how you might be able to help them? All of a sudden, the world opens up and sales becomes one of the most fun things that you can spend your time doing professionally.
Yeah, who doesn't like to talk to another smart person who might have a problem that I can help with? I mean, I love to help, right? I believe to sell is to serve. So why not have more conversations? I mean, that's so simple and yet so often not done. So with that, David, that's a great beginning of a relationship, right? We did the research, we had the conversation, but then what? I mean, let's talk about that messy middle, because we could talk about closing. I mean, that could be a whole hour that we could spend a week on closing. But let's really talk about that messy middle. What's next, right? We don't get them, or they say not now, or what do we do then, David?
Well, so it's two things. One is they say not now, which is a whole different kind of path. Getting from first appointment to second appointment to third appointment, again, depending on how involved this is. Generally speaking, my recommendation for a sales process for trusted advisors like you and me, anywhere from 4 to 7 steps. It is not going to be a long, drawn out 6-month process. We're not selling space stations to NASA. This is a fairly simple sale, right? So high 5-figure, low 6-figure sale in the scope of a corporate sale is not a big ticket item to them. By the way, that's another thing. We talk about some pricing and some mindset things in the book. So when I say 5-6-figure sales are not a big deal to them, please understand that what's a lot of money to you as an independent entrepreneur, what's a lot of money to you might not be a lot of money to them. So that's another aha moment. Like, we're freaking out going, oh my God, it's a big project. It's $120,000. And they're sitting around the table going, yeah, this is some little thing that we might do. It's like $120K. And it's not a big deal to them. But for some reason, we make it some traumatized, oh, biggest sale of my life, biggest sale of my career. And it may be the biggest sale of your career, but it's an everyday purchase for many of your prospects and many of your clients. So I got derailed there. Let's go back to the messy middle of the sales process. What people fail to do is, because how many times have we had a great first conversation, maybe even a great second conversation, and then they go dark. Then they disappear. Then our emails go into a black hole. Our voicemails go unanswered. It's like, what happened? We had 2 fantastic first dates, and now I'm being ghosted. What is going on? Well, here's what typically happened. We call this DPS. Everything has an acronym in the do-it selling world. DPS is disappearing prospect syndrome. Disappearing prospect syndrome happens when one of 2 things typically has gone wrong. Number 1, you spend all of your time talking about you and your stuff, and you spent very little time asking questions about them, their heartaches, their headaches, their problems, their gaps, their goals, their dreams, their ultimate results, the outcome, the impact that solving this problem would have or achieving this outcome would get. Me. I call this me sales conversation. Well, here's our program. Here's what we do. How's here? And so it's the old pitch fest. It's the old pitch deck. Here's our capabilities. Our company's been around since 1764. None of our companies have been around since 1764, but we've helped 9,000 clients just like you, and I have to get through this 97-page PowerPoint. And this is death. If you're still selling that way, and I hope that you're not, but if you're still selling that way and you're wondering, where are my results? 1988 called and they want their sales process back. So mistake number one is me selling. Mistake number two, and this is probably more common, mistake number two is focusing that sales conversation on instead of focusing on questions, you focus on sounding smart and being liked. Here's what the problem is with wanting to sound smart. I know this is kind of counterintuitive. Well, aren't we supposed to sound smart? Actually, you're not. So wanting to sound smart and wanting to be liked cause a couple of different problems. Number one, when you ask a question, they give an answer. You want to sound smart. You're like, yeah, okay, got it. And you don't probe, you don't dig, you don't uncover, you don't find out the reason behind the reason, you don't find out the symptom behind the symptom, you don't uncover the self-soothing delusions, you don't cover some of the lies that prospects tell themselves. Prospects have all the best intentions. Sometimes they lie to themselves about the consequences of this problem or the impact of this decision or whatever it might be. So that is problem number one. Problem number two is wanting to be liked, and that is what I call happy puppy syndrome. So happy puppy syndrome is they say jump and you say how high, and it's a totally subservient sales posture. So it's like, they say, I think we need some training. And then Phil, your comeback would be, oh my gosh, we have the world's best training. We have so much good training. Let me tell you about our training. We have 1-day training, 2-day training, 5-day training, half-day training. What kind of training do you want? And that's called being an order taker. So you need to leave behind this desire to be liked. You need to leave behind this desire to sound smart. And I quote Peter Drucker in the Do It Selling book. Because Drucker is one of the legendary management consultants. He says, at the end of the day, I only have two skills. I'm never afraid of sounding dumb, and I am perpetually curious. So my spin on that is, after the Drucker quote, I say our job in the sales process is to be strategically dumb and perpetually curious. So strategically dumb, they say, well, we want to increase profits. Most consultants that hear we want to increase profits, you'd go into, yeah. Okay, got it. Sure. Great. Drucker and you and me, we should be asking 17 more questions. When you say more profits, exactly what do you mean? When you say more profits, do you mean like, this kind of profit, that kind of profit? Do you mean per salesperson profit? Do you mean per region profit? Do you mean per product line? Tell me about your profits. Tell me about where they've been. Tell me about where you'd like them to be. Can you put a number on it? Can you put a number on it? Can you put a number on it? This is a magic question for all of your sales conversations. When they quantify and specify the actual problem that they have in terms of dollars, hours, percentages, whatever it is, you now have a real handle on the scope and the scale of the problem. Until you do that, you're guessing. And then here's where this ultimately washes out. You're writing a proposal, and then when our clients come to us with us having initially a very surface level conversation, I say, do you have enough information to write the proposal that is exactly in their words about exactly what they want, about exactly what's important to them? And our client might go, no, how would I get that? It's by asking those second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level conversations about, tell me about your profit, tell me where it's been, tell me where it's going, what makes you think it's not where it needs to be, what are some danger signs that you're concerned about, do you know what the profit is in your competition? Comparable companies to your size, do you know what their profit margin is? Do you feel that you're ahead? Do you feel that you're behind? Do you feel that you're on pace? Do you have any data? Have you talked to your CFO? Have you talked to your manufacturing folks? Have you talked to your salespeople? Do you know why your profit is not? Are the salespeople caving on price too much? Are the salespeople giving away the farm because they don't have sales skills? Blah, 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 blah. I have 17 questions. When someone says our profits are not where they need to be, you wanting to sound smart and wanting to be liked would go, got it, more profits. And you've learned nothing about the company, you've learned nothing about the problem, and you've learned nothing about the urgency triggers that would make them buy your solution to the tune of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you're still so busy selling the training or the coaching or the consulting that you fail to uncover the actual problem.
I love that, David. We could talk for hours about selling, but I would tell people just go get a copy of the book, right? Pick up Do It Selling, 77 ideas here. It is a recipe book for you. So before I ask the magic question here at the end here, David, Ben Lichtenwaller asked two questions. So first, he wants to know, do you have any review copies available? And if so, right, reach out to Ben. So that's a good question.
So
And then
I do, because even though it's not on Amazon until later, I have a couple of boxes of Special Reserve. It's not quite as good as Special Reserve bourbon, but if you want to email me your physical mailing address, I would be happy to pop a review copy in the mail. And by the way, what a great question. Thank you for asking. That's another Do It Selling principle. You do not ask, you do not get.
yeah. Well, speaking of getting, Ben also wants to know when's the audio coming out?
So all three versions, the hard copy, the Kindle, and the audiobook, should be available on May 2nd. We had a little bit of a glitch where the Kindle book came out last week, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? So they actually pulled it since then because it was supposed to be on pre-order. One of the big Amazon rules is all the formats have to be available at the same time. You can't release one before the other. We screwed up, and someone let the Kindle out before the hard copy or the audio are available. But all three should be available by May 2nd.
Fantastic. Well, Dan Gentry's here as well. Dan, we love you too, buddy. Thanks for saying we're two of your favorite people. We appreciate you too. But the ultimate question, David, Do It Selling, right? Where do we get started on this journey, right? Because we want to be better at Do It Selling, but maybe we're not sure exactly where to get started. Obviously, buy the book, but don't tell us to buy the book, David. I'll tell people that. Where do they get started?
Well, I think the first thing is to reframe sales activity from your least favorite activity to something that you actually enjoy. Because think of sales. I think this is where we can land the plane. Consultants, coaches, trainers, speakers, trusted advisors of all kinds. The moment that you're hired, you are in ham heaven. You are loving the client. You're asking a million questions. You're rolling up your sleeves. You're digging into the operating room. Imagine, because I call that post-sale value. Imagine if your sales process was the exact same thing, except it's before you get the check. It's before you run the credit card. And then it becomes pre-sale value. And so the soundbite is, the more you treat prospects like clients, the more clients you will get. Because no one's afraid of doing the delivery work after you're hired. Think of sales as the initial phase of delivery. And boom, mic drop, you are healed. You will never sell the same way again.
Awesome. I love that, David. So, folks, if you want to get a copy of Do It Selling, it is fantastic. David's got a ton of bonuses there for you. Lots of good stuff. If you go to doitmarketing.com/selling, you can pre-order the book. It'll be out on May 2nd, as David mentions. If you're listening, if you're watching, go check that out. Pre-order the book on Amazon. Let David and his team know, and they'll get you a copy. David, if people want to ask you questions, if they want to get connected with you and are like, oh, this guy's super smart, where should they go? Where would you like them to go besides your website?
I would love an email. So david@doitmarketing.com. And I have that in the back of the book. And I say, hey, listen, if you're buying the book, we're family. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to help you out with whatever you might need. There's also a couple other free resources on the website. We have a free Do It Marketing Manifesto. That's at doitmarketing.com/manifesto. And our latest on-demand web training is also on the website, doitmarketing.com/webinar. So both of those resources are free. emailing me. I'm happy to, and I do read my own email. People say, "Do you read your own email?" I say, "Yeah, I answer my own phone. I read my own email. I'm not a celebrity, people. I'm just a human being like you, like you, and like Phil, and like all of us." So I do answer my own email, and I would love to hear from you as you're getting ready to ramp up your sales mojo.
Awesome. So again, friends, go to doitmarketing.com/selling. Check out doitmarketing.com/manifesto, doitmarketing.com/webinar, or just email David @doitmarketing.com. As always, Mr. Newman, it is a pleasure, my friend. Congratulations on another hit book.
Thank you, Phil. Great to be here.